with a lot of experience tend to take things for granted. We tend to forget what it was like to not know something. So if you're experienced with film, this video is not for you. And if you are experienced with film, I think there's a lot of value to helping out a beginner. This video is for people who have never shot film before. If you grew up in a digital age and all you know are digital cameras and digital processes, then this video is for you. So if you want to get started, here are some things that you need to know. Film is a physical and a chemical process. Light hits this strip here that's coated with an emulsion, which is a chemical that's sensitive to light. What I'm getting at here is that a camera is a light-tight box. When the door on the back of the camera is closed, light cannot get inside of the camera, and this is very, very important. The only light that should be hitting the film is the light that comes through the lens when you take a picture. If your camera is loaded with film, do not, under any circumstance, open the back of the camera like this. You see what I just did there? Don't do that. By the way, future Mike here. If you do accidentally open up the back of your camera, don't panic. Just close it right back up and keep shooting. You might lose a couple of frames. Not a big deal. Just keep shooting. Have fun. So that brings me to my next point. How do you get the film out of your camera? You see, the camera rolls up the film on this take-up spool as you shoot. And when you're finished, the film has to be rewound back into the cassette. Rewound? Rewinded? What's the right word? I don't know. But it's got to be sucked up back into the cassette when you're done shooting. This cassette protects the film from light until it's time for development. Point and shoots and autofocus SLRs like this one rewind the film automatically back into the cassette at the end of the roll. Manual SLRs like this one have to be rewound manually using this rewind knob. You see that little button at the bottom? You press that button to release the take-up spool so it spins freely, and then you rewind. And then you'll feel the roll rewinding back into the cassette, and you'll feel a little click when it's in there. It'll give you some feedback, and you'll know when it's rewound all the way. You'll be okay. Which brings me to my next point. What is development? This seems obvious to a lot of people, but I get this question all the time, and it's a really good question. How do I see my pictures? You have to get the film developed. Development is a chemical process that happens after you take your pictures that results in these negatives. You can have a lab develop your film for you, but please, 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 it's important before you choose any lab to make sure that the lab you're working with returns your negatives. There are services like quick development places and big box stores like Walmart who actually send their film out to another lab altogether who do not return your negatives. And this is a big no-no. So whatever you do when you're choosing your lab that you work with, you have to make sure that the return of your negatives is part of the service. Super important because these are your original photographs. Also, you can develop your film yourself, and that's something that is super satisfying to do, but that's a topic for another day. Now, when the lab develops your film, they can provide you with prints or scans that you can download onto your phone or computer. My next point is that cameras and lenses are more about usability than they are the quality of the pictures they produce. What I mean by that is that this Leica and this Olympus will probably produce identical images. And really what it comes down to is how they feel and how they handle in your hands. But even then, when you're starting out, it's really not going to matter that much. There are going to be people that will argue endlessly about sharpness and micro contrast, but I'm telling you now, those things matter so little. $1,000 lens is not $900 better than a $100 lens. It's going to be like 3% better, if it's any better at all. It's easy to get caught up in desiring the nice lens and the nice camera and thinking that that nice lens and camera is going to be able to let you produce the pictures that you want to produce and let you travel to the beautiful mountains and fancy beaches and great locations. And here's the thing, I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of desiring nice gear. But when it comes right down to it, if I lost this very expensive camera, I'm going to be able to produce some amazing images with this very inexpensive camera, and you can too. Later on down the road, you might find out that one works for you or that you enjoy shooting with one over the other, but worry about that later. Right now, just worry about finding a camera that works and shoot with that. The next thing you should know is that you should shoot with fresh film to start with. For some context, film does have an expiration date. When a film is past expiration, it shifts in color, it loses contrast, it loses sensitivity, and it gets grainy. It might be tempting to hop on eBay and place a bid on that giant lot of expired film, but the problem is lack of predictability. You see, there are a lot of opinions about this, but this is the way that I look at it. When you're starting out, it's a time of discovery, and if you shoot with an expired roll of film, you don't know how it's been stored and you don't know what it's going to look like. When you're beginning, I think it's important to find baselines of what you like and don't like based on what films actually look like. And that's why I think it's important to start with fresh film and then experiment later. And my final tip, if you find a roll of Kodachrome, don't shoot it. And nobody has the means to properly develop it anymore. Some places can develop it in black and white, but for the most part, Kodachrome development is kaput. It is non-existent. Okay, so I said that was my final tip, but I lied. This is my last tip. The best reason to shoot film is because you want to. If you ask 10 different people why they shoot film, they're probably going to give you 10 different reasons. I've got my own reasons, and honestly, they've shifted over the years, but they're my reasons. The important thing is that you have your own reasons. Even if that reason is, I don't know, I want to try it. That's a good enough reason. The key here is discovery, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a lot of fun for you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm going to do my best to answer them. And if you see any questions in the comments and you know the answer, feel free to chime in. Let's help each other out. Thanks so much for watching. I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, me. I'm just kidding. I don't have a sponsor, but if you want to support me, there's a couple of ways you can do that at the links below. If you found this helpful, please feel free to give it a like. And if this wasn't helpful to you, maybe you're too awesome of a photographer. Maybe you're the next Annie Leibovitz. Maybe you're the next Henri Cartier-Bresson. Maybe you're the next Robert Frank. Maybe you're the next Sally Mann. Thank you so much for watching. What happened? A light went out.